Today on Horror Author Show and Tell, we have debut author of dark fantasy, Dennis Crosby. Stick around. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Gaby Triana. I'm the author of Island of Bones, the Haunted Florida series, Paradise Island, a Sam and Colby story, my latest Moonchild, and lots more tales of ghosts and dread. So today I have another great show and tell for you. Dennis Crosby is here. Now, I met Dennis when we spoke on a panel together about the indie writing life. He's the author of urban fantasy novel Death's Legacy, and he's currently at work on his follow-up novel, Death's Debt. So here to show you something unscripted and undead is Dennis Crosby.
Hi there, everybody. Dennis Crosby here. I am an urban fantasy writer with a recent field promotion to published author. Very happy to be here and talk to you guys about some interesting things, or at least one interesting thing that I have in my place. Thank you, Gabby, for inviting me to participate in this. This is exciting. It's fun. It's kind of interesting to think about, something that kind of has a hold on me that I enjoy kind of talking about, and even something that I think has over the years kind of helped shape and define the path that I was going to take in terms of my writing career. So, little background, when I was a kid, I saw the movie The Exorcist when I was, hate to say it, 5 years old. It's ridiculous when you hear about it. It's sometimes ridiculous when I talk about it. But yes, I was 5. I was actually being babysat by a friend of my mother's, and she was watching the movie and made me promise that I would not sit up and watch the movie. And it was a new house. I wasn't really accustomed to this place. So I didn't want to go sleep in a bedroom in a place I didn't know about. So I said I would sleep on the couch. I put a blanket over my head and would not watch the movie at all. And when I tell you that I watched that movie from opening credit to closing credit through like a little space in the blanket about this big, I'm not lying to you. And unfortunately, she didn't realize that I had done that until the very end of the movie. So that movie actually, it scarred me for a while. I mean, you see something that young, it takes a lot of that innocence away, I guess you could say. I don't know. But it definitely messed me up for horror movies, which is strange considering what I write these days. But it took a while for me to get into being able to even watch horror movies, like years and years. Definitely couldn't watch that one until actually probably the last decade. I was able to like really sit through it and get through it again. But somewhere around the mid 80s, I came across the movie Night of the Living Dead. And I watched that movie from start to finish, and I tell you that I wasn't, it didn't frighten me as much as it did fascinate me. And I think it opened my eyes to realizing that horror isn't always about, the image that you see. It's not always about the monster. It's not always about the thing that is coming to get you or coming to eat you. It's very much about what's going on in the mind. And I liked that movie so much that it started me kind of on this fascination with certain types of horror movies. I still wasn't into the whole demonic possession thing, but I could definitely get into things that had that psychological feel and that thing that just made you wonder. And when you think about it, look back at that movie and you realize, one, they never used the term zombie in Night of the Living Dead, ever. In fact, George Romero referred to them as ghouls in the script and in anything that he talked about. They also didn't really focus on those creatures, on the ghouls. They focused on the people. They focused on the people in that townhouse, and that in and of itself is enough to make people frightened. It's enough to make people wonder, like, what would I do in that situation? How would I go about, getting through something like that? And that's the type of horror that really I connected with. It's the type of horror that said to me, you know what, maybe this is something that I can really get into. And so I started reading a lot more about it. I started even dabbling with some stories. Certainly started watching more horror that touched on the psychological elements as opposed to just the slasher or the monster or the creature coming up from the depths. Um, so with that, the one thing that I have in my possession that I'm really proud of, that I love, um, is an original script, Night of the Living Dead script. It is signed by George Romero. Um, it is a prized possession for me for a couple of reasons. Um, One, it's the script to Night of the Living Dead. I mean, come on. And two, it's signed by George Romero. It's also signed by Jack Russo, who was co-writer with Romero. Um, so it's got all that, but it's also this like gateway to the past. You get to look at this script and you get to see, one, how it was written in the past. Two, you get a glimpse into the mindset of some great writers, some great filmmakers, and you get a chance to see how this thing evolved. This script is an original script, and it's not that similar to what was in the movie. There are some elements of it, but there are some subtle changes. They actually made some changes as they were filming along the way. So this actually is, like I said, it's just a glimpse into history, into that whole process, into all of the things that made that movie so spectacular. It's also that, again, that piece that really inspired me to start thinking about horror in a different way. Started getting me thinking about, how can I best tap into the human mind besides just putting, creatures in the faces of other individuals. So I'm very excited. I've only actually read about a third of this because it's so it's such a huge part of my past in terms of my renewed appreciation of horror. Um, and I don't want to get to the end because I don't want to just be done with it. Of course, I can read it again, um, but again, it's just a fabulous piece of history to have, and an exciting thing for, I think, any horror writer to have in their possession. So, very proud of this piece. And in terms of what I'm working on now, I mentioned earlier that I am a writer with a recent field promotion, as it were, to published author. My first novel came out in November of 2020. It is entitled Death's Legacy. So far, it is my favorite book. Of course, as I said, it's my first book, but it has a character on there that I'm really happy with, very proud of. And there's some elements, I think, of this story. I'm not going to say that they were inspired by Night of the Living Dead. It does deal with death, but on a very different scale. But I can definitely say that it was influenced in part by some of that. So this book just came out. It's available now in print. It's available in ebook. It is also available on Audible. And I'm currently working on a sequel to this story. That one is entitled Death's Debt. And it takes most of these characters into the next level, next stage of their adventure. There will be some old characters making some recurring appearances. But all in all, you'll see some of the favorite folks that are in this book coming up in the next one. So again, I want to thank Gaby for inviting me to participate in this. I want to thank everybody who's watching for taking a look, taking a listen. And I'm going to encourage you all to have yourself a nice George Romero Film Festival. Start with Night of the Living Dead. Check out the sequels that came after that. Even some of the remakes aren't too bad. But if you are a fan of horror, this is really where it's at. This is kind of the start of it. At least it was for me. So thanks again. Enjoy, and I hope to see you all soon.
Wow, Dennis, how did you get your hands on that? By the way, I saw The Exorcist young too. I wasn't supposed to see it, but I kept hearing it was really scary, and I wanted to test how much scariness I was able to handle. So I did watch parts of it at my friend's house, and let me tell you, as a young Catholic girl, that movie messed me up for a long time. Whew. Thank you so much for showing us your signed copy of the Night of the Living Dead script. I am utterly jealous and blown away. And I totally understand what you mean about not wanting to read the whole thing just yet and wanting to make it last. I would probably do the same. So good luck writing Death's Dead, and for those of you at home, be sure to check out Dennis's urban fantasy Death's Legacy, available and getting lots of really great reviews. Congratulations, Dennis. Alright, that's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please like and comment and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.